Alright guys, I got a kind of a video request from Eric Husayn. He showed his American made knives, and I figured I would do the same. Let's go over here. I actually had more than I thought, but I'll kind of start here on the folders, which is not many. I'm not a big folder guy, but I do have a few. We'll go over here. This is the Spyderco Petra military. Sorry about the blade, I got Ren wax on it to keep it from rusting, so I do that with all my uncoated blades, so that are, you know, any kind of carbon or anything, it's going to rust. But this is the military 2. This is an old one that my dad actually let me have when he passed. This is the bigger one that goes in a pouch, and I don't have it with me. I have it in, but I've got a smaller one. It's 4 blades, exactly like this, just smaller. It's the very first knife I ever got, and I got that, and I got this from my dad, and I'll keep it. It's old Uncle Henry. They don't even make these in America anymore. I think they're made in China, but definitely a very good knife. This is the Ontario bayonet. I think it's the M8A1, and it's definitely seen its use. Got this in an old military surplus shop years ago, and it's definitely seen its use. Still pretty sharp though. Put a little bit of an edge on it. It's pretty sharp. This is the Ontario SB 295. You can see it. It's got a little serration on it. Kind of reminds me of the pilot's knife they made, which I do have. It's kind of like a bigger version of it. But definitely a good little all-around hunting knife, or it could even be a good woods knife if you use it right. This is the SB6 fighting knife from Ontario. Similar to the last one, it's just a little bit longer, and the handle feels a little bit better on this. Same type of rubberized handle, but it's definitely seen its use. Alright, now this one is the Ontario. I believe it's the M494, I believe, something like that. This one definitely has seen its use as well. It's got a kind of a different coating. It's kind of like it's got a sparkly coating, if you can see that. Different than a lot of other knives. Similar to the old KBar knives, which I do have here. I'll show you. And this one I actually got at a flea market. This is a Camus fighting knife. This actually is very old. I had to do a little bit of restoration on it, but I got it back to where it's pretty good shape. But leather stacked handle, just like the old KBars. Kind of a peen pommel. Definitely a good little knife. This one I actually have never used. This is a KBar fighting knife, which you're probably all familiar with that. Been used for, gosh, probably 70 years or more. These things are definitely tried and true. This one doesn't have the leather stack. This is kind of rubberized handle. They do have tons of versions of this. Leather handle, black, chrome, stainless type of finish on it, satin finish. There's tons of them. So anyway, this is kind of like a Grell knife of mine. This is the Team Busey, Team Gemini knife. If you're not familiar with Busey, look them up. They are probably one of the top end makers out there, and they're not very cheap, but definitely a dream knife of mine, and I'm glad I was able to pick it up. They're made out here in the USA. This is another one from Tops. They make everything from Tops is made in the USA, so there's no brands that are kind of like this. They make them all in house, and they've got hundreds of brands or hundreds of different types. So pretty much whatever you're looking for, they would have. This is the Karambit style, very mean looking. It's got a kind of a swedge, sharp edge on it here, which is illegal in some countries. You can't have double-edged knives, which this would qualify. So you have to watch your laws. This is the Tops Operator 7, another green knife of mine. This thing is super thick. You're not going to break this knife. I don't care what you do with it. But it's definitely a very good knife. Okay, and this is the kind of the budget end. If you're not familiar with Ontario, they're basically an American-based company, and they did the Rat 7 series. They did the Rats, like I think they got the Rat 3, something like that, a couple other Rats, and definitely a very, very good knife. And these are not that expensive. They're like $60 or something like that for this knife, so they're not all that bad. Alright, this is the Becker BK7, and I did a little bit of modification. I've put kind of a line ice coating on the handle because the handles come really slick. They're Gravery handles, they're really slick, but I put this coating on it and it's really, really grippy now. But these are definitely tried and true knives. Are full tang. It's all the way through. And you can strip these knives if you want, but I've got the coating on these. But overall, good knife. This one is the Tops Steel Eagle. There's a lot of versions of this. There's serrated versions, there's really long versions, there's tons of versions of this. And if this knife looks familiar, it's actually the knife they used in the movie's Predator, where the main guy had this on him. It's got a little bit of fame on it, I guess, but this is definitely a good little knife, and it's got kind of a, you basically are indexing this knife very well. You're not gonna lose point on it. So yeah, it's a good knife. This is the Becker BK9. Again, I've modified the handles a little bit. Of course, it stands for 9 inches long, so that's BK7, 7 inches. This is the 9, it's 9 inches. So. But overall, good knife. I suggest picking it up if you want a good woods knife that's not going to break the bank. This is kind of another dream knife of mine. This is the Tops Tahoma field knife. This thing has got it all. It's got a pommel here that acts as a flathead screwdriver, or you can smash glass or whatever you want with it. This right here is supposed to be a bullet remover. You can actually remove a bullet and take the powder out and use it for burning or whatever. This is a kind of a pot holder or pot lifter out of a fire, and it's got a swedge. This one's not sharpened. You can get them sharpened though, but this one doesn't have one. Yeah, it's a neat little knife. I just love that coating on it. You can see where it's differentially treated, but the coating, the river, I think it's called river wash coating, but very, very nice. This one's definitely seen this love. This is the Ontario SB10 Bowie, and you can see why it's called a Bowie. It's got that classic shape to it. Definitely a little hefty knife, but it's definitely seen its use, and it's going to be a keeper. This is the Tops Armageddon, very large knife, great chopper. If you are familiar with the Armageddon, they actually made it years and years ago. This is a recreation of the Armageddon. The real Armageddon's like a few $1,000s. This one comes in about $300, so it's a little more price effective, but it's 1095 steel and very, very tough. It's got a lifetime warranty on it too, so if you ever break it, which I doubt you will, they'll cover it. Alright, this is the big boy. This is the Tops SXB. This is the Skull Crusher. And this thing, it's not a tracker knife. A lot of people think it's a tracker, but it's actually not a tracker knife. It's basically its own design. And it's extremely thick. And Rocky Mountain tread on it. So you got a really good grip. And you can back up on this thing, chuck back and chop. Or get up and you got a kind of a pommel there where you can smash stuff with. Got the little red liners. Yeah, very, very nice knife. This was a green knife of mine as well. I got a few of them, I think. This is the, don't mind the wax on it here. This is the OKC Bushcraft knife. And I believe it's 5160 still, so I gotta keep it waxed up because 5160 rusts like mad. So I keep it waxed up all the time. Yeah, got a wood handle, you can take them off. But yeah, it's a very, very nice knife. This is the Rat RTAC 2. It's kind of OKC's largest knife, well besides the machetes, but it's the largest fixed blade they have. A beefy knife. You gotta have large hands to do this. If you got small hands, I would just suggest this knife. But if you're familiar with SE used to be part of OKC, and they split off and started making their own. And this is their version of the RTAC. This is the hungless. And it's very similar. It's more refined though. The handle is less squarish, and it's got a little bit better feel to it. But they're a little bit more expensive, but they're definitely worth it. They have the hungless 2 out now. It's a little bit smaller, and a couple other versions. 100% made in the USA. That's my few of them here. Let me go up to the top here. All right. This is another BC knife. It's a Swamp Rat, Ratman. And if you're familiar with Swamp Rat, they're basically there's 3 divisions of BC, and this is Swamp Rat's one of them. It's the Ratman. Now this is the SE6. It's called the Venom Green, and basically orange scales. You'll never lose this knife, I can tell you that. You can see this thing a mile away. It doesn't glow in the dark, but I don't believe it has to because it's so bright. Yeah, definitely a nice little knife. Okay, this is the Becker BK15. This is more of like a type skinning knife or fillet knife or something like that. You'd actually probably get around like in the kitchen. You know, it's definitely a kind of a flat grind will help you cut meat. So it's definitely a good little knife. Now this is the beast of a knife. This is the Boker BK2, which I've put through its paces and definitely had its day in the sun, I guess. But definitely a good knife, and this thing is super thick. You will not break this knife. I've never seen anybody break one myself. I've never seen a picture of one or heard of anybody breaking one, because it's basically just a hunk of steel. Now, this is a Gerber. You might not think, well, that's not USA knife, but some of them are made in the USA. This is made in Portland, Oregon, and I think this is the maybe this is the Prodigy, I believe. I've got a couple of Gerbers. Now this is the LMF2. Yep, that's the LMF2 knife. They all look the same. There's a lot of these type of knives that look the same on Gerber, but definitely a good little knife. And this is a classic. I actually found this at a flea market years ago, and don't mind the wax again. This is the Buck 119. This is a 90s model, and you can tell it's got a little marking. I don't know if you probably can't even see it. Yeah, you can't really see it. There's a little marking on it that you can look up on Buck's website, and it'll tell you exactly the year it was made. Yeah, definitely a good little knife. I think everybody should have one of these, because this is kind of a classic American style knife that everybody should have. This is the Gerber Prodigy, and made in Portland. They don't make a lot of these in the USA anymore. A lot of them are made in China, but this is definitely one of them that's made here, and very thick as well. I think 420 stainless, but definitely a good steel to have for a knife like this. This is the Tops Bob Brothers of Bushcraft 1095, and again, I got the wax on it. You can't tell how good the blade is, but very well, but definitely a good little knife. Only a couple things. This is a little notch. I need to fix that. A little bit of rust on it. Actually, I didn't put wax on that. See how bad this stuff rusts. But this has a notch right here for like fire steel. It comes with a fire steel. It doesn't work that well off that notch. I'll use the back of the blade myself. But and you got jipping right here. I don't care for jipping too much, but it's kind of if you need it. And get a little Scandi type grind to help you whittle or do bushcraft, whatever you want. So it's got a little index right here where you can index stuff. So definitely a nice little knife. Now this one I actually found at a pawn shop. This is the Ontario pilot's knife. They give these to pilots to cut their way out of aircraft, and if they down one, got a very hard striker pommel. I mean, you can probably break about anything with this thing. It's a neat little knife, very light, and it's definitely seen its better days, but it's a good little knife overall. Now I take this hunting a lot. This is the KBar Hunter. You can definitely see it's been scratched up and beaten, banged, and everything else, but I bet this thing's probably 40 years old. It's been with me on every hunting trip out there, and it cuts good. So definitely a good little knife to have. This is the Tops push knife, push dagger, or however you want to say it. Kind of a novelty type thing, but you know, if you want to EDC something like this, it's very, very concealable. It doesn't have a big imprint, and you just basically grip it and you can punch with it. I mean, it cuts too, but you can punch, but it's definitely a neat little knife to have. Now this is not really a knife, but it is a hawk. This is a RMJ Trike, and I've been wanting this thing for years. Finally found one available, because it's not available much on their website. It has a screw in, kind of like the old survival knives, the pommel and screws right here, and you have a sharpening stone in it. And this is non-conductive, so the handle is separate from the rest of it, so if you like hit electrical lines or something like that, it's not going to electrocute you. Now this is used by a lot of troops overseas, and they're used to breach and stuff like that, and sometimes they cut electrical lines, so they made this where it won't conduct any electricity through it. So if you're holding this pommel cap, which is metal, and you hit electrical line, it's not going to do anything to you. But it's got a sharpened beard on it, very, very sharp Tanto spike, and the underbelly's sharpened, and a very, very sharp head on it. I really love this. I love this hawk. Now this is some of my USA made knives. I have a Rat 2 custom that I haven't shown, and I've got an Ontario machete that I've got in my vehicle. But overall, this is most of my USA knife collection. So thanks for watching.